Let's turn our eye now to what's making waves online. Emma James joins me here in the studio. Good evening to you.
Good evening.
Let's start, shall we, with an incident that's caused a lot of buzz online. A lot of messages have been exchanged, I've seen online, about racism on the Paris metro, and it's put football fans in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons.
Absolutely. And if we take a look at the Metro today, which is a London newspaper, they say that two more of the Chelsea fans believed to be involved in this incident have been identified from the video. They say Jordan Mundy, who's 20, and Jamie Fairbairn, who's 23, are the ones who've been picked out. Monday's neighbours have been spoken to by the newspaper, and they say that he'll be in big trouble with his parents because apparently, according to the neighbours, the parents will go ballistic over this incident. Fairbairn's employers have also said that he will face a disciplinary investigation over this. And of course, it also highlights how is Chelsea FC handling this incident. It received a lot of criticism when John Terry, one of its most famous players, had actually issued a racist comment to a fellow player, and they were criticised quite heavily over how they dealt with that. But it would seem that people are pretty pleased with how Chelsea have been pretty strong on this issue. 3 fans have already been suspended, and following the investigation, they may well receive a lifetime ban from Stamford Bridge. But one person who may be going to Stamford Bridge is Suleiman, the victim himself. Chelsea's boss, Jose Mourinho, said today that he's inviting Suleiman and his family to come along to the next game, the return leg at Stamford Bridge between Paris Saint-Germain and Chelsea, because he wants them to see the real Chelsea FC. He said he's ashamed of those fans and that they have nothing to do with the club itself. Now, Suleiman spoke to Le Parisien earlier this week, and he actually gave a little bit of an insight into just how racist he believes France to be.
I was the target because of the color of my skin. But you know, in France, black people are always in trouble, no matter where they are from.
Now, Suleiman has actually spoken to France 24. We're just awaiting the tape's arrival in the building, so we will be hearing more from him later this evening.
Okay, and you've got another topic you picked out for us, and it's sort of on a similar vein, sort of a story of how people's prejudices really are so very visible and prominent in certain places you wouldn't expect them to be.
Yes, the Huffington Post is carrying an article, and it's about a student, an Egyptian student, who dressed as a Muslim imam and walked the streets of Milan in Italy for 5 hours, and it details the kind of insults that he came across during that time. Now, it says that he was called a Taliban curse word. I won't use the word that they actually used. People were overheard asking whether he had a gun underneath his tunic. He was called ISIS, and he faced bigotry and abuse wherever he went. Apparently it was less common in the touristy areas, but as he headed outside of those areas, he received quite a bit of abuse and insults coming from there. But it comes in the wake of other videos of a similar ilk. Haaretz sent one of their journalists, Zvika Klein, out on the streets of Paris for 10 hours. He walked around wearing a kippah or skull cap, so visibly Jewish. And during those 10 hours, he was actually spat at and insulted. He again said it was worse in the suburbs than central Paris. And of course, this video was made in the wake of the Charlie Hebdo attacks, where of course in the kosher supermarket, the Jewish supermarket, 4 Jewish people were also killed. And it comes on the back of anti-Semitic incidents being on the rise here in France. They doubled back in 2014 last year.
Okay, let's turn to a more optimistic story you've picked out, because you found a story that is really it's about a charity trying to change people's prejudices. Tell us a little bit more about it.
Yes, a video has been made in the United States. It's entitled "What's the Difference?" and it's been watched now by 1.2 million people. The idea is to show that homeless people are no different to us. The film's makers say they believe that most people see homeless people as being below them, and that we believe it couldn't possibly happen to us, that we could end up on the streets. Now, these men from a shelter in LA were given free haircuts, and it really does show how they transform from looking quite wild and slightly sinister to looking like your next door neighbour or the people that you work with. And it really does, during the course of the only 76 seconds that this runs for, you really get an idea of just how differently you view people just because they've had a bit of a wash and a brush up.
Right, and just finally, you picked out some pictures from Twitter of a former French minister. Show us what you've got.
Arnaud Montebourg has been taken to hospital in New York. Paris Match is reporting this one. He's the former industry minister here in France, and he was injured after a mirror fell on him inside a cafe. He's in New York at the moment to deliver a series of lectures at Princeton, and as is always the case these days, with social media being what it is, people with cameras were there to capture every undignified moment of this incident. This man's tweeted a photograph of Arnaud Montebourg on the stretcher being taken out. Now, Paris Match says he is okay now, but when you look at the actual mirror that fell, and this was what landed on him, you do wonder whether this might not have been a more serious incident, and he was quite lucky, really, to get away with that one.
Goodness me, that's 7 years of bad luck. Well averted. It doesn't look like it broke, did it? Just hit him
I'm
on the
not
head.
sure. That's the back side of it, and rather dirty, has to be said.
It looks rather old. All right, thank you so much, Emma James, for that update of what's going on. That was Media Watch.